So hello and welcome to Mandala Theatre Company's panel discussion, Connection, Creativity and Voice. I'm hosting the panel discussion. I'm Yasmin Sidhwa, Artistic Director of Mandala Theatre Company, and I've got with me four amazing, creative and inspiring young people that I've worked with over the last 5 years and longer. And I just want them to come on and have their voices heard. And they all have this passion for theatre and a desire to tell stories and to change humanity, I suppose. So we're going to do this in two parts. So part one will be on now, you're listening, and we love the fact that you've joined us. And then part two will start at 8 o'clock. So please tune in to both parts because they're different questions and you will get a flavour of what these young people are feeling and thinking. So we're going to start now, and I want all of you young people to introduce yourselves, to just talk about your backgrounds and your pathway into the arts and into theatre. So can we start with you, Anusha?
Hi, yes. So my name's Noosh, like Gal said. I was born and raised in Oxford, but I'm of Indian and Pakistani heritage. I've had a creative background growing up, as my mum is heavily involved in poetry and singing, but I've always had more of a passion for theatre. And I've always loved creating and making up little sketches growing up. But I was properly introduced to Pegasus Theatre through a project I did at my school, the Oxford Academy. And I started Pegasus from the age of 13. And that was my gateway into the real world of theatre. The first time I performed on a stage with a paying audience, the first time I met Yaz. And that was that was the turning point for me to really falling in love with acting. And I was just going to share a little memory that I had, which was that we performed 1001 Nights, which Yaz directed at Pegasus Theatre. And we told the story of a man named Adnan and his struggles growing up in Mesopotamia. And Adnan came to see the show, and his reaction to our show was the most amazing feeling. And I think that was, a real special moment for me in theatre and getting into theatre.
I remember that show and that moment. It was so moving. He was crying. Yeah, thank you, Anusha. Nelvin, your introduction to all of this. You need to unmute. We can't hear you, Nelvin.
Can you hear me now, yeah?
Yeah, we can now.
Right. My name's Nelvin. I'm of African heritage and descent, and I grew up here in Oxford as well most of my teenage life. And I remember being introduced into acting from my early teenage life. And I remember meeting Yasmin. It was late 2013 when I did a performance at my school, and she was a judge for it. And she saw something in me and asked me to come audition for Nightlight. I think it was early 2014. And, at the time I was very inept in theatre and acting. And due to my naivete, I ended up not getting that part. But I think it was a good thing because it allowed me to work on my craft. And later on, when we got to work together in 2017 for Antigone, I was somewhat skilled enough to be able to tackle that character and to carry on, even with the stranger for, at least for Miss Primrose, and even now the character that I was going to play coming this summer. Unfortunately, that we don't know what's going to happen, but it all stems back from being exposed to different cultural backgrounds here in Oxford and being able to take on different projects in school and also even with Mandala Theatre Company. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, it was brilliant to get the chance to audition when you were that young. But obviously, you were ready when you came into the company when you were ready to take on those parts. So, Ralph, over to you, and don't forget to unmute.
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Ralph Roque. I was born and raised in the Philippines, actually, and moved to the UK, to Oxford as a young adult. I'm classically trained in theater, both classical and contemporary. I started my training at 14 back home in the Philippines, where I was part of a youth theater back then. I migrated to the UK to pursue higher education and continued my training through local community theaters in Oxford and being part of local drama associations in the locality, which led to my involvement with Mandala. I joined Mandala around 2017. And from their training, I've been part of their magical tours, Antigone and Lucifer and Miss Primrose from the previous year. So yes, that's my my background, and right now I'm currently pursuing my screen acting postgraduate. But yes, that's a little bit about me.
Yeah, brilliant. And you came into Mandala Young Company when you were older than some of the others, so it's brilliant. And last but not least, Rhiannon. And unmute, yeah.
Hi, I'm Rhiannon, as people, I guess, back in Oxford know me. Yeah, so I sort of grew up around Oxfordshire. I am, I guess, very British, especially compared to all of you. So I grew up kind of smallest village, had a religious upbringing. My kind of main like creativity and theatre stuff came from, I did like every school play, loved doing the school plays. And my mum was always very like creative, like she would set up a lot of artsy crafty things, or like we had a little like puppet theatre that we'd make like little shows. But yeah, it wasn't really until sort of around, I guess, GCSE age, so maybe like 15, 16, 17, I realised I actually really enjoyed drama and would like to do it more often than just, I guess, school plays. And it's actually my mum who found, I think Yaz had written like a little advert or something in the newspaper. And I was just at school, and my mum sent me this picture and was like, oh, I've seen this could be really good. And I was like, right, okay, yeah, let's do that. And I think it was like that. It was a general workshop. I think we were looking at like identity and things. And it was from there that I sort of then, you offered me a place in Collector of Tears. And we went to the Rom-Com Festival. It's been since then, I guess, really, that it's kind of, that drove me to want to do it at uni, drove me to carry on doing stuff and pursuing it. So yeah, I guess that was like around 2016, 2017 as well.
Well, it was brilliant, Rhiannon, because you said yes. There was a promotion had gone out because I was running Mandala training at Modern Art Oxford, and yeah, you being part of that, then and also I'd say everybody's British, but you've got that English heritage, and Mandala is for English. We try and provide pathways, especially for Black, Asian, minority, ethnic and white working class young people, but it's open to everyone. I would never say somebody can't join. If you've got that passion and you've got that creativity, then we want you as part of Mandala. So I'm really blessed that you guys are the ones that I've worked with, and many more. So let's go on to the next question, which is, what does creativity and theatre offer you that other things don't? So Nelvin, can we start with you on that one?
Me, theatre in terms of creativity, because I'd be lying if I said that it allows me to express myself, even though that is not, even if I would put that as a footnote in terms of me personally. What I would say theatre allows me is to experience different perspectives of different characters, and you put yourself in their shoes and allow yourself to think how they would think, experience the life that they would experience, their difficulties, their joyful moments, and be able to tap into that. And that sort of gives and allows you to contrive this appreciation of your own life. And in a way, it always tends to humble me, because I can look at someone's life and say, they've gone through that, then my life isn't so bad. you know, compared to theirs, or maybe my life is better, not better, but in a better place than theirs is. So it allows you to appreciate more what you have, and I'm always grateful for that.
And you put a hell of a lot of background research into the way you create character. So
Yeah,
I
I
can
tend
see what
to.
you're saying.
The thing with when I'm doing the research, I always tend to have it as far as possible from what I am and how I live, so that it gives me a different perspective in a way, that rather than always playing you in everything, you know, sometimes it can end up being monotonous if you do the same thing over and over. So I tend to deviate as much as possible from my life and my experiences and create a different person based on the information in the script, or you as a director that gives me and allows me to go further into it. So that's how I usually do it. Anyway.
Brilliant. Okay, Rhiannon, over to you on that, because you're studying theatre right now.
I am studying theatre. So I guess for me, in terms of like how creativity in theatre, like what it offers that maybe other things don't, is I think it's like the connection that you get and all of the different people you meet, like from working with you to being at uni to doing other shows outside of uni. Like I've just met so many different people from all walks of life, loads of different countries, all with different ideas and different things they've been through. And it is letting me, like, it allows me to like experience life and I feel like quite a different way. Like I feel like I've got all these connections to all these people. Like there's people that I don't know really well, but I met through theatre or through when we went to Grenoble and stuff like that, and I'm so much more aware of so much more that's going on in the world because of theatre. And yeah, just that like connection between people and everything, I think it really allows for that, which you don't get in like maybe other sort of I can't think of the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, other walks of life or
Yeah.
other, yeah, and I totally, that, you know, that's why the title of this panel discussion is Connection, because it is something that I completely share with you. Okay, Ralph, over to you.
Yes. Actually, I will build up on the points that you and Rhiannon did, mentioning about connection, mentioning about the collective, because to me theater is more immersive as a collective, because the creativity within theater has a lot of avenue that allows us to cross-pollinate our own ideas with others into devising our stories, in particularly stories of the unheard and the invisible within our society nowadays. So basically what Mandala and of course Yasmin has provided me the opportunity to have a much more broader perspective and learn a lot from my other fellow creatives and reflect upon the experience. And most importantly, the thing about theater, regardless if you're a performer or not, you can feel the audience just connecting to the story being projected on the stage with their own experiences, and that relation, that relativity is what creates these connections in the first place within theater and the arts.
Brilliant. And Anusha, because I totally agree with all of that. Anusha.
Yeah, I think all of you have said such good points and things that I was coming to my mind when thinking of this question as well. I think it's safe to say all of us would have a lot less friends without our involvement in theatre, and that's something Rhiannon touched on as well. And the relationships I've made during a small project or a big scale project has been so invaluable to me. I think just to add a different perspective, I think that the safe and open space in which we are allowed to make our point in whichever way we want, it's without interruption or distraction. And I guess I want to ask, how often does that happen in the real world? You know, this is our time to get our point across. And the fact that we are creating our own little world, I guess, for an hour or two, and we're letting people in and we're showing people what we've been working hard on and trying to raise awareness for the issues that need the awareness. I think that that's really special, that we can create that through theatre, and that people enjoy it as entertainment, but also leave with the thought lingering in their heads afterwards, and hopefully that they kind of act on the more raisins that has been raised for them during the experience that we provided. I think that's the really special thing of theatre for me.
Yeah, two of those things. So Ralph talked about that reaction of the audience, but it's the energy and interaction of the actor and the audience. And it's what you said, Anusha, when you introduced yourself, you know, somebody like Adnan who saw his life on stage, how he was emotionally affected. And also the rehearsal room is a safe space. It is a space where you're allowed to try things and fail and try again. And I've been talking about these on my Facebook Live, so you're echoing what I've been talking about, which is fantastic. So we just, because of time, I'm going to keep going through the questions because there's so many things that I want to ask you about and find out what you think. So the next one, and we're starting with you, Rhiannon, is what opportunities has Mandala given you? Because obviously, you know, other theatre companies and other theatre courses give you many things, but what has it meant to you in your life?
I don't want to sound really like, I don't even know what the word would be. I don't want to be that person, but Mandala massively changed my kind of like direction in life, if I'm honest, because, you know, from the training stage to going to Grenoble and doing our show, I'm pretty sure like that experience of doing that youth theatre festival and watching all the different shows and being involved in all these new skills, like obviously have the fire workshops that I got to take part in, which was insane, and actually performing our show and the reaction that we got from our show that then meant that we then took it to Germany. And it not only kind of like pushed me more towards doing theatre sort of as my life, but like I've been introduced to so much like new artists, new art, new styles, again, new people. It's just all of these, all the opportunities that I've sort of got from it, if you like, are all opportunities that I view as kind of like once in a lifetime things. So like the fire workshop, like I don't know where else you could even go to practice working with fire. Like that's mad. And I got to do that, which was incredible. But yeah, I would say it just kind of changed my life.
Well, that's a beautiful thing to have said, and I want you to be that person. Over to Nusha.
Yeah, I think that was really nice, Rhi. That was really nice to hear. I think I'm definitely mirroring that and saying that it's definitely shaped me as a person I am today. I can say that with a lot of confidence. I mean, I've performed in an Oxford University examination hall. Like, who can say that? Do you know what I mean? It's just crazy stuff. And like Rhiannon said, not many people get the chance to perform in a different country or a different language. And we've been given that opportunity more than once, which is a massive blessing. And I think for me, the thing that I think is so important for me about Mandala comes into why it's changed me as a person, which is that it relentlessly tells stories that no one else is telling, and that others are too scared to tell or can't be bothered to tell. And the stories that are being under-recognized in the professional world of theatre. And the fact that Mandala doesn't leave anyone behind, and I know that sounds a bit cheesy, but that's truly what it does. It makes us all feel so special because we could never feel left out or not good enough. And so for me, it's meant so much in terms of building my confidence, my self-belief and self-worth. Seeing, like, it's not normal to see a girl from South Asian descent as a main role in a play these days, or growing up. And so to be told and given that opportunity to be doing that on stage, which has been given to me by you, Yaz, and by Mandala, that has been so special, really special for me. So thank you.
I find your words touching, and it, you know, it's amazing, and I honestly haven't paid you, have I? So next it's Ralph.
Oh, yes, but yeah, Mandala is, to me, Mandala is a blessing because to me, Mandala is at the forefront of advocating diversity within arts and theater. And that's one of the things that really struck me about Mandala is the diverse makeup within our talent, within our crew, within our cast. And it's something that I didn't really see as a younger performer, having this versatility in arts and theater, and that's what Mandala has provided me. It gave me that mindset that, oh, I could put my identity to this, into our stories and into our devices. And with the opportunities that Mandala has given me, particularly having international performances that spanned across.
Oh, Ralph's face. Oh, there you are.
that spanned across the EU, particularly in France. We've worked with diverse multinational theater companies, under Creart with Mandala. It made me think that it made me think of my craft beyond a local English setting, understanding different perspectives and cultures and interpretations within theaters from different parts of the world. And and then in that, I guess, character development on my end, seeing the world as a bigger pen.
Yeah, well, I think both you, Ralph, and Anusha, talking from that perspective, that why shouldn't all of our cultural stories be told? Why is there, so often classic British theatre doesn't have these stories that tell our stories, our individual stories, and those stories that we know are there that aren't spoken about. So I'm really glad you both mentioned that.
Yeah.
Nelvin, over to you on this one.
I said it all.
I'm sure you've got something to say.
The opportunities, they're just endless. On top of going to France, performing here in Oxford, performing indoor and outdoor shows, all of those, they're there and they've always been availed to us. And, it's with such ease, actually, to be honest, because I would say, because all you have to do is, like, you ask us, do you want to do this? And we go, yeah, we do. And, we're ready for it. But I'd say, well, for me personally, it would be how I approach them, because with Mandala has taught me hard work, the dedication and the perseverance. You go through the struggle of finding the ways to, and what works and what doesn't. And experimentation, especially with experimentation, is very rare to find these days, because most of the time with a lot of different projects, they have a set target and almost a set pathway to which they have to follow, and you sort of become acclimatized to that way of thinking. But with Mandala, it's a space where you give us the freedom and the reign to, here's a project, how should we approach it? And that experimentation is very important for our creativity, which is something that is slowly fading away. But with Mandala, it's sort of like, what? We can revolutionize how young people are thinking, how they approach perspectives. And for that, you've always done that.
Yeah, and that's really, really important that you do have your ideas inputted into every show. What would be the point of me as a director just going, I've got one way of thinking and one way of looking at this story? It's about you, and especially that's why I love young people, because you bring such a freshness and an openness, and to me that's a joy, and it helps me to change my vision and rework my vision, and that it's always better because of your input, all of your input. So we're coming to the last question of part one, but obviously we will be back in part two. So the question is, what stories do you feel need to be told right now, and why is theatre one of the best ways of sharing stories? So Ralph, I'm coming to you on this one.
To me, yes, the most important stories that needs to be told right now, especially in my heart, is the invisible stories right on our doorstep, stories of inequality and adversity that is unheard or remains to be done within a developed country like the UK. Not many would expect to have, you know. It's essentially what theater allows to shed a light to these dark realities. And it's these stories that demand social justice, such as racial discrimination, domestic abuse, exploitation, the homelessness issue, and basically the mental health on the youth, on the disadvantages of the systems put upon on certain class systems, such as the youth. And I feel theater is very effective because it is more up close and personal. Like, as I've mentioned earlier, the audience vibrate as a collective. You guys mentioned about the connection between performers and the audience, and having that vibration on the same wavelength is really what needs to be. Having that connection, not just understanding the message, but comprehending the emotions within it.
Yeah, brilliant. And like you say, we're losing these chances to tell our stories. And, you know, I feel devastated that in schools, there's so little art and drama in state schools. And it's just, so it's wrong. And that's why all the productions that I do with the professional company will always tour to those places as well as to theatres. So Anusha, your take on this one?
Yeah, I think Ralph spoke really well on that. I think I listed just a few things that came to mind, because there are so many things that there's so many stories that need to be told that are being undertold or not told at all. I mean, some examples that come to mind are the ongoing brutality in Palestine, the refugee crisis, the lack of legal routes of people seeking homes for safety, and the disgusting way that Europe is dealing with this by shutting their borders because it's not considered our problem. We need theatre to raise awareness for the corruption and brainwashing happening by the capitalist society we live in now. We need to show that there is hope for a better future, and that there can be a world in which we actually care for each other and we want to help each other, and that helping each other is our problem. And the fact that so many children all over the world, especially girls, are not allowed to receive an education in lots of parts of the world. And I think that it's not enough to do one show on one of these issues and think, okay, now tick that box and we're done. We need to carry on and show that we're really dedicated to telling these stories relentlessly, and until our voices are heard and until something's actually done about it. And just to end the question on why I think theatre's the best way to do this is because one voice, just one narrative, can spark one conversation which can lead to so much more understanding on one subject. And I think it shreds that feeling of helplessness that we all feel so much, being here and thinking we're not there, so we can't do anything, which is not true. And we are doing something by sharing these stories and by doing them justice, hopefully, on the stage. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah, and look at that voice. It's so passionate. We're going to come back to all of this and what you feel about the future. But that's what I love, that you're so wholeheartedly, all of you, passionate about these unspoken, invisible, risky stories. And what's difficult is a lot of theatre venues are frightened to program these stories because they're not mainstream, because they haven't got stars in them, because it's new writing. And you sort of go, actually, if the audience got us, my internet's saying it's unstable, but hopefully we're going to carry on. But if the audience got to see more of these stories, they would realize how much they connect with them and that they want more of them. So yeah, I really appreciate that. So Nelvin, to you.
For me, in terms of the stories that I would want to see being told, they have started. You know, people have started telling them, and even including, I can attest to the fact that you're one of them who is an advocate, a continuous advocate of telling these stories of equality, you know, breaking down systems of oppression and so on. And, you know, gradually representation also started to become prevalent in theatre, which is very powerful in making sure that, you know, different stories are not being misrepresented depending on the environment and where those stories are coming from. So for me, what I would say in terms of, not just in terms of what I want to be told, but in terms of the path that our stories need to start going through, is making sure that each story that's being told is transcendent beyond even our time, so that people, you know, can look back and reflect on certain issues and know that, you know, for example, if you're someone in the audience watching something, and you can tap into it and you can say, you know, I can relate to what they're feeling, I can relate to what they're going through because I've experienced it in some form of, in shape of way. It's always very brilliant and allows you to reflect on your own life and beyond. Because I think personally, theatre in its purest form is a medium to preserve history. And, you know, even once you're gone, you know, someone will look back and say, I remember I watched this show that was directed by so-and-so and had these actors in, but it wasn't just about them. It was about something that was much bigger than they were. And that's how, you know, these stories will be able to live on. And in future, people will look at them and learn from them and not repeat the same mistakes that were done, you know, in our time or even before our time. So that's what I think theatre should be about and the story should be about.
Well, I love that it's transcendent, because it's transcending all of us. And in a way, these stories come to us and they're beyond us, like why we choose them and how we interpret them. They are meant to be told at this point in time, that, you know, we need to be telling them, and the audiences we're sharing them with need to connect with them. And if they don't, we've made a mistake, because I think everyone can connect to a story that is meaningful and well told. But over to you, Rhiannon.
Gosh, leave me to last. I don't know how to follow these three now. No, they've covered a lot of it, really. I would say stories that need to be told now, yeah, like all the unknown ones, the hidden ones. Something that I thought a lot about was hidden illnesses and hidden disabilities. I've started to see some more work being made about those recently, and I think that again, they're just one of the categories that is important. There's so many, but that's something that's really interesting for me to see come to light, because there's so many that people just have no idea about, and they'll watch something and just be completely surprised that this is even a thing. So yeah, I would go with the hidden stories, the invisible stories. And in terms of theatre as like why theatre, again, like the others said, it's the emotional connection you can get. It's the fact that, you know, you can have an entire audience and every single person in that audience will pick something out, whether that is something that they empathize with, or something that excites them, or something that angers them or provokes them. There is something there, even if it's not even, sometimes it might not even be the story, sometimes it's the theatre itself. So I just think it's kind of like what Ralph was saying earlier about the immersiveness of theatre. It gives you this way of looking at things just completely differently to how you would in an everyday situation, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, yeah, the whole thing of being in a room with so many people and feeling the feelings that you're feeling, that's the vibration that Ralph's talking about. That it's beyond words, it's beyond emotion, it's really deep. And obviously, yeah, also some people liking some shows and not liking others. That whole debate is really good, because we're coming from it from a subjective point of view. We're not all going to see it in the same way. So yeah, you guys, I've been so inspired so far, and I can't wait to hear more. So we're going to come back in part 2. and then other people can tune in and join anybody that's been watching now, and hopefully the ones who've been watching, you'll join us again in a very short while. So do come back and join us for Connection, Creativity and Voice with Mandala Theatre Company. Thank you.